super excited to welcome you to another episode of the Tiffany Bethea podcast. This is the place where we have kingdom conversation about being the bold, fearless CEO of your life and business. In Genesis chapter 1, we are told to rule, to dominate, to subdue the earth. And so in essence, we were told to be CEOs, whether it's just of our lives, of our health, of our spirit, or you're actually called to be a CEO in the marketplace. You may have a business or a ministry or some brand that you're building. Whatever it is that you've been called to rule, to subdue, to dominate, this is the place where we have conversation. And so, guys, I was not here last week. There is an episode missing in January. If you were here last Wednesday, every Wednesday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, ish. We are here recording live. And if you're watching this on YouTube, if you are listening to this on iTunes or Google Play or SoundCloud, know that you can join us live every Wednesday. Definitely go to kingdombosslive.com. That's our community. And you'll see us you'll be right a part of the conversation live. And so, but last week, guys, I was down. I mean, like the flu had me. Flu 1, Tiffany 0. Okay. And honestly, and I said this in the CEO report email that went out today. Hopefully you're getting those emails. If not, you're missing out. You need to go to kingdomboss.com and get on the CEO list ASAP. Okay. But I was saying that as crazy as it sounds, I was off an entire week forcibly because I was sick, but it ended up being, hey, Michael Stegall, what's going on? It ended up being such a great week because while my body was healing, I just got opportunities to just rest and to spend time in the presence of God and to just hear and to get so many downloads. Honestly, it's crazy. It was a great week. But this week I'm back. My voice, I'm like not 100%, but I'm close enough. I'm getting there. So my voice is not as strong as it normally is. It's a little scratchy, but we're here and we're gonna get this thing going. Now, hopefully you had an opportunity to join me 2 weeks ago when I did my first podcast of the year, and I was sharing some very candid reflections of the previous decade and things I had experienced, lessons learned, downloads that God had spoken to me during the various mountaintops and valleys. And so definitely if you have an opportunity, whether you're watching on YouTube, you're in our Facebook group, or you're listening on iTunes, Google Play, or SoundCloud, listen to that episode. It was really a great one, but it was a break from a series. We've been in a series on Kingdom CEO principles. And when I first started Kingdom Boss, God gave me these 12 Kingdom Boss principles that were governing the being of who we are as Kingdom CEOs. One thing that I noticed with this current culture is that we spend so much time focused on doing the activity and all the stuff and image, but it's really in the being, it's really in who you are that's going to make room and attract everything God has for you. And so we're going to get back into that series today. I'm super excited to continue that. We're going to talk about being action oriented. This is probably one of my favorite ones because it makes such a difference. But first, you guys know that we always open the show with our pop culture and the pulpit segment. And so pop culture and the pulpit is really when we talk about what's going on in current events, and we just talk about them from a media perspective. All right. And so let's talk about today's segment. For pop culture and the pulpit today, guys, we are going to be talking about Prince Harry and Princess Meghan, right? I don't know, you probably have seen it all over your timeline, perhaps in the news. It's all the buzz. Everybody's talking about it. And it's very interesting. I think there are so many different perspectives. I certainly would love to hear yours. So chime in. If I haven't said this in a while, I need to make sure I say this every episode. You guys are my lovely, incredible co-hosts for this show, okay? So type in your comments. You guys are always active. I want to hear your thoughts and your perspectives as well. So let's get into pop culture and the pulpit. So Prince Harry and Meghan, in case you've also were sick and you've been out under a rock and you've missed it, they decided to step away from the responsibilities of royal life and declare that they want to be financially independent, move away from the royal castle, and live their own lives. And I want to know, what do you think about that? I have two main thoughts that came up for me as I saw it all over my timeline. I saw all these different memes. Oh my goodness, I should have brought this meme here so I could share it with you. There was a meme that just took me out that had Prince Harry dressed as Prince Akeem from Coming to America. And it actually said Coming to America. I was like, who makes these memes? Y'all are crazy. So, but I saw it's been all over my timeline. I'm imagining that possibly it's been all over yours. And so I thought about it. I was like, what do I think about this? What's my opinion on this? So like I said, definitely comment, chime in, let me know what you think and feel. I think two things came up for me. One was, what an amazing sacrifice that is for him to make for his wife. That for anyone, for any husband, for any wife to choose their partner and their spouse over, family, regardless of who that family is, regardless of the responsibilities, is so biblical, to be honest. You talk about being called to leave your family and cleave to your wife, and that person that you've decided to make covenant with really does come first. But we see that sometimes people struggle with that. I mean, you see it all the time. I was watching a message. Bishop Jakes is in a series on, let me make sure I say this right. He's in a series on family, and it's called Model Homes. Thank you, Holy Spirit. And, he was just saying how sometimes you've got a husband and he's married, but he's also got mom pulling on him or this pulling on him. And it's such a struggle. So I commend him for choosing his wife's happiness. Let's look. So many people in my timeline have been like, he was not going to allow the press and the negativity that can come with that life that he's very familiar with to allow what happened to his mom to maybe happen to her. And I think that's why he probably had such a strong response and was just like, I'm sure it was difficult, but I'm sure that there was something that kind of rose up in him and was like, nope, it stops here. I'm not going to allow this to happen again. And one of my favorite sayings, not on my watch, So that came up for me. But I'm gonna tell you the second thing that really mostly came up for me was that I don't think it was a very difficult decision. Yes, Reverend Swan, that series, I've already watched it twice. And I'm not married yet again, but it's been blessed by life. But in that vein, right, I think that to me, one of the things that came up for me was what I know of Prince Harry and Meghan. I don't think the decision was that difficult. And I'm going to tell you why. I think that her values and his values just so naturally aligned in a way where they were probably on the same page. While he was born in royalty, we know that he struggled. He's not necessarily always been into and for, everything that comes with that. And I get it on a much smaller scale. As a pastor's kid, as someone in a first family who lives in a Mac under the bubble, I think that was probably one of the things that connected them. You see such a difference with him and with Prince William and how he lives their life. And so I feel like for him and Kate, they are on the same page. They see things the same way. But I think for Prince Harry, I think he just saw certain things a certain way. And I think he attracted someone who had those same values. So I honestly would imagine it probably wasn't that difficult of a decision. They both were probably like, forget this. I think if she had been married to Prince William, I think it would be a very different situation. And even for, their father and what he went through with Princess Di, I think you probably saw some of that. I think he was a little bit more comfortable with the traditional roles and all of that. But I think she was not as much here for it. And you kind of saw that friction. Shanice says, I don't think it was a difficult decision for him either. He always seemed a little different or apart from the royal life. Exactly, Shanice. I'm glad to know that I'm not the only one who thinks that. Yeah, I agree. And so what I think it speaks to is that for those of us who are still in the journey of finding who God has for us, we have to really make sure that our values align. Not what we say we value or what it's on paper would sound good, but we truly in our heart value. Because if we are aware of what we really value and how we need to really live our lives, then it will be easy for us, simple for us to align with someone who has those same values. This could have gone a whole different way if they weren't on the same page. And so I think for me, it was a blessing to see and a reminder to me of like, stick to your values. Don't settle. Go for what you really want and need, because then as you journey and life takes you through all these turns, I'm sure they probably didn't see this coming when they first got married. They probably really thought we're going to really stick it out with the royal, life. But then it just was a little bit too much. And because they were so well aligned, it was an easy pivot. So keep letting me know what you think about that, even though those of you who are watching the replay. But that's our little pop culture in the pulpit segment. I did want to say this. I thought that it definitely was a reflection of the Ephesians 5 husband, that Ephesians 5 description that we aim for and look for, in our spouse or future spouse. So that was encouraging to me. And I think it is a big deal because, like I said, whether it's either party, the husband or wife, it's wonderful to see. But him being the leader, or those of us who are believers, we believe that the husband is the head of the family and there's a different responsibility. Quick side note. I was talking about this for those of you who haven't seen the Model Homes series on YouTube for Bishop Jakes, go check it out. It was so great. He was talking about submission, and y'all know people just get like really a lot of feelings when it comes to the conversation about submission. A lot of ladies have a lot of different feelings. But he said something that I haven't thought about. He was saying, like, ladies, y'all really feel some kind of way about submission, but we are called to crucifixion. He was like, right after that, in that same passage of scripture, it says, and husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself. He died an ugly death. So I just thought that was an interesting perspective. I personally have never had an issue with submission because I saw it modeled, literally what he's talking about. I saw it. So I didn't know anything else until I was grown and like, oh, everybody doesn't do that? Oh, okay, cool. But I thought it was a really good perspective that he gave, which is like, ladies, okay, yeah, we're called to submission, but they're called to die for us. So in that vein, I think what Prince Harry did really does demonstrate that. And so I think that's beautiful. So that's it for the pop culture and the pulpit segment, y'all. Let me know what y'all think and let me in the comments. And if you are watching this on YouTube, you already know, I should have said this earlier, please subscribe. Okay, so let's get into our conversation for today. We are talking about being action-oriented. My God. I'm going to try to stay calm on this one, but this topic excites me because this one right here is the motor to your faith, right? So let me pull up a passage of scripture that I hope you guys can see. I hope it's not too small. Let me know if you guys can see that, okay? But James 2:14 through 26, all right, is a passage I want to kind of use to reference as we're having this conversation. James 2:14. I said that so Baltimore. 2. Whoo, I heard it myself. James 2:14 through 26. I'm not going to read the whole thing right now. I'm just going to read a couple, and that's really small for me. So I'm going to read it on my good old phone. Okay. It says, what does it profit, my brethren? Oh. See, that's why you can't pull up stuff on your phone when you record live, because you get notifications and they're distracting. Let's get back to it. All right. What doth it profit, my brethren, though a man say he hath faith and have not works? Can faith save him? If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye warmed and filled, notwithstanding ye give them none of those things which are needful to the body, what doth it profit? Even so faith, if it hath not works, is dead being alone. And then let me jump down a little bit to 23. And the scripture was fulfilled, which saith, Abraham believed God, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness, and he was called the friend of God. You see then how that by faith, by works, a man is justified, and not by faith only. Likewise, was not Rahab the harlot justified by works, when she had received the messengers and had sent them out another way? For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also. I wanted to pull in that whole passage and not just the scripture, because I feel like it gives a fuller picture. We know, we've heard the story that faith without works, but then it goes to give examples. It says, if somebody comes to you, right, this is the 2020 version, and says, I'm hungry, and you just say to them, depart and be filled, but you don't give them a sandwich, what did it profit? What did it actually do? You know? And I want to challenge us today, because I feel like that is exactly what some of us do in our lives and business. We say, I'm going to lose weight. When we find a scripture or we write an affirmation, I declare my body healthy. But if you don't actually work out consistently, drink water, eat healthy, what did it profit? You will look up, and a year later, 2021, you're going to still be declaring, oh, I'm going to lose weight, because the weight didn't go nowhere. And it wasn't about faith. It was that the faith was dead because there was no action tied to it. So let me give you a definition. I'm kind of a word nerd. I think that if you've been around for a while, for my newer folks, I really like definitions and such. Action oriented means willing or likely to take practical action to deal with a problem or situation. Somebody say practical, because I think that as believers, sometimes we are well-intentioned, but we place way too much value on God's part, his responsibility, and we way undervalue our part. And honey, listen, he said it is finished. He has done his part. Here's what I want you to get. I hear you, Holy Spirit. Let's shift this a little bit. Everything that you are believing for, need, want for in your entire life, you're not waiting for God to create it and to do it. It is already done. Do you get that? I was thinking about that early Sundays. My pastor was preaching, and she's talking about insight and manifestation. And I said, I wonder if people understand that you're not waiting for God to do it right now. You're waiting to pull it from that realm into this realm. Do you get that? Do you get that? That it exists. It has a heartbeat. It is alive and ready. It is in another realm that you have to tap into and pull it into this realm. And so that's what the faith is about. I have faith that God already did it, not is going to do it. I have faith that he already did it. Now I have to take practical action to pull it into this realm. Oh, are you there? I believe that God has set millions of dollars in my name. They're not in my bank account just yet, but it's done though. So I'm taking the practical action through my business, through Forex trading, through different things to pull it from where it exists here. And it takes prayer, and it takes me fasting, but it also takes me disciplining myself every week to learn more about Forex trading, and to actually, I have a trade going right now. You know, it takes discipline of growing and scaling my business and having meetings. And it takes those practical actions for me to see in the tangible what I see here. What about you? What practical action do you take on a daily, on a weekly, on a monthly basis to pull from this realm into this realm what God has spoken to you. I see one of my lovely clients on here, right? Reverend Twanda, and she's working on a book. Now, guess what? She has the faith and she knows and believes that God is going to help me. He has assigned me to write this book, and he has given me what I need to put this in the earth. But guess what? Guess what practical action she has to do? Right now, we are working on her outline. We are coming up with content for the book. Practical action. That book is not going to just write itself because she has the faith for it. She's spending time mapping it out, writing chapters, working with a coach. He said, come on, sis, say it for the people in the front of the and the back. Thank you. And the reason I'm putting that emphasis before I give you my little 3 points, because ministers, I can't seem to get away from my 3 points that I learned in homiletics class. I bring it even to the podcast, but before I get to the practical part, I want to whet an appetite and I want to get you hungry for understanding why you need to be more action oriented. Because if you think that the reason that some people are so passive is because in their mind, they're just waiting for God to do it. It doesn't even exist yet. And so they're like, well, I'm just sitting here waiting. I think if more people understood and could see in their mind's eye that that thing exists, it lives, it has a heartbeat, it is done. It was done before the foundation of the world. All you have to do is access it and pull it here. I think that gives you a different perspective because you're like, oh, snap. Hopefully you're like, let me go get what's mine. And if you understand that, oh, so God's part is done, it's on me, tag, I'm it. Yeah, he said it's finished, and it is actually finished. Bishop Jake said it this way. In my mind, he's my e-pastor, so just rock with me. But I love one of the things that he says is that God made trees. He doesn't do tables and chairs. That was for us to do. Some of us are praying right now for tables and chairs. God, I want you to do this for me. We're praying for tables and chairs in our business or in our life. We want him to magically just drop the weight. We want him to magically bring in a new person to date without you getting out the house and meeting people and trying things. We're praying for tables and chairs. And he's like, and the reason that those prayer requests are not being honored is because they're not scriptural. He did his part. You have to cut the tree down and shape it into the table. And so again, I'm kind of setting the foundation for the fact that I want you to realize that you have to take action. If it's going to manifest, if the glory of God is going to be revealed in the earth through what you, through your assignment, you have to do it. You got to do it. Not just pray about it. Not even just believe. That's why I love this passage of scripture. It said that you can't just have the faith. You can't say, oh, I'm going to have a great business. You got to write the business plan. You got to start getting clients. You have to create the website. You have to do the work. All right. So in our CEO report email this week, we sent out 3 tips. Now, again, if you're not on our CEO list, you're missing out. Okay. We go deeper into these conversations. And so go to kingdomboss.com and get on our list. So listen, I'm only going to share 2 of them here. The third one you got to get from the email. But let's talk about now some practical ways to be more action oriented. Okay. Let me put this here for the people who are like, oh, not fair. I want to get on the CEO list. I want to get the inside exclusives. Well, you can do that. Okay. So I'm going to give you 3. Now, I'm not going to give you all 3. The third one is a mystery one. You got to go to the email, but I am going to share a third nugget with you. So the first one is really simple, and it is set a time limit on your planning. Set a time limit on your planning. One of the things that paralyzes people from getting into action is being in analysis paralysis. How many of you have honestly ever experienced that? Analysis paralysis, where you are paralyzed in the thinking phase. You are overthinking. You are planning, but that's it. I've seen people plan just for years, and it's good plans, but it's not going to bring fruit until you actually put that seed in the ground, water it, and till it. You're like, work it, And so one of the things that will help you come out of analysis paralysis is setting a time limit. For whatever you're building and doing, give yourself a time limit and say, I'm going to plan for 3 months. And after the 3 months, after I exhaust my planning effort, then I'm going to get moving. And you may even want to talk with accountability and, coaches, mentors, friends to see, is this time limit realistic? Because sometimes when we say we're praying about it, what we are really doing is trying to decide for real, do I really want to do this or not? That's the real. Can we just be real about it? Sometimes the whole I'm in deep prayer. You've been praying about it for 5 years. I don't think it takes God that long to respond. That's not my experience with him. I think it takes us 5 years to decide, do I have the courage to really do this? Okay. And so get serious about your planning. Don't allow yourself to stay in that mode longer than you have to, because watch this. Delayed obedience is disobedience. Whatever God is calling you to do, there is a time limit. This is not just a get to it whenever, maybe do it in 20 years. There is a timing for what he's asking you to do, and it impacts other things and other people. And so if you're not going to say yes and do it at the moment that he does it, listen, God will raise somebody else up and keep the show going, but you will miss out. God will be God, and the work that he needs done will get done, but will you miss out? Will you not benefit from being used and being yielded and saying yes? So give yourself a time limit on planning. Don't think you can just get around to it whenever and God will just be sitting there waiting like, okay. No, he said he will not strive with man always. The second one, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because there's a whole nother CEO principle podcast on this one, is discipline yourself. Discipline is really powerful when it comes to being action oriented, because one of the things you discipline really is your feelings. Now, fellas, y'all do pretty good with this one, even though I'm sure you could use work. But ladies, we really struggle here because we can really be slave to what we feel. I just didn't feel like it, And so one of the things I've had to learn how to discipline is not feeling like it. I had 2 meetings back to back last night, and when I tell you I did not feel, I was like, I just want to curl up on the couch and do nothing. But I have to speak to my feelings and dictate to them what we're going to do. I have the power. God has given me authority, not my feelings. I would have lost too much time if neither of those meetings took place. So the thing about being action oriented is you can't do what you need to do when you feel like it. You need to do it because it just needs to get done. Oftentimes for me, the energy will come as I'm doing things. I don't necessarily feel like doing a lot of things that I have to do in my life and business, And so, and don't fall into the motivation trap. Well, I'm going to wait until I feel motivated. The truth of the matter is, the motivation myth is that motivation usually comes from action. Action produces motivation, not the opposite. So if you're waiting to feel motivated before you get moving, that's probably why you're still sitting there. There's nothing more motivating like seeing action. Like seeing the fruit of something you produce, that gives you energy to keep producing. But the first part of that process is getting in action, not feeling motivated. All right. And so those were the first 2 that we sent out. You got to go to the email for the third one. But this is one thing I do want to give you before we wrap up. 2 powerful words: defeat procrastination. Somebody say that. Defeat procrastination. Why did I choose the word defeat? Because oftentimes procrastination is a stronghold that is winning over us in life. And it's not even that we don't get things done, but we don't get them done in a timely fashion or when God needed us to do it, because we just procrastinated so long. And the thing about procrastination is two things. One, procrastination is a very arrogant, prideful assumption that I'll have tomorrow to do it. When the reality is we don't know how many days we've been blessed with. David said, teach me to number my days with wisdom. You know, like that's part of the urgency for me, is that unlike every other resource, I know exactly how much money I've got. I know exactly how much this I've got. I don't know how much time I have. Right. And so I've got to use every moment with intention, with power, because I don't want to get to the end and like, oops, I thought I had more. And nope, that was it. You know, so that's one thing about procrastination. But the other thing about procrastination is that it is often rooted in fear. I find that I'm a super action oriented person, I really don't struggle with procrastination much. But when I do, it catches me off guard because I'm like, I don't procrastinate much. But it's always rooted in some fear. I'm afraid of something. There's something I'm unsure of. And when I get the clarity, right, or just make up in my mind that even though I don't feel like it, I'm going to do it, then all of a sudden I'm ready to get into action much quicker. Okay. And so you've got to now take the procrastination before the throne of God and get the victory over, and then really figure out, what is it that keeps you procrastinating? Is it just a pure lack of work ethic? Does God need to, build in you a stronger work ethic? Honey, if that's the case, I would encourage you to go to the book of Proverbs and read what he says about lazy sluggers. But the book of Proverbs will make you want to get your life together. Can I just sidebar there? Okay. So when you read the book of Proverbs and see what he says about lazy people, and it leads to I was about to say wealth, but it leads to poverty and all this stuff, and you realize, like, y'all need to develop a work ethic. I don't want to be lazy. But is it laziness that causes you to procrastinate? Is it fear? Is it that you need to overcome the fear? Is it clarity? Is it that you are often confused and you just can't figure out, really understanding what lays under your procrastination will often help you beat that thing. All right. But what I want to leave you with is this: whatever God has called you to, whatever he has for you, it is in existence. It has a heartbeat. It is ready for you. But you have to take the action to pull it from the spiritual realm into this realm. That's what manifestation is. That's why we use the word manifesting, because he's not creating it. It's done. It was done. It is pulling it into this realm, and it's going to take practical action. You're not going to just be able to pray. You're not going to just be able to fast. You're not going to just be able to dance around the sanctuary. You're going to have to take a class, write some emails, talk to some people, possibly invest some money to pull that thing from what you see and what's existing in the spiritual realm. Because what you see and hear is the preview of where it is now. And then God will give you the practical wisdom to take action and pull it into this realm. All right, guys. So that's all I've got for you today. I hope that has been a blessing for you. And if it has, drop a comment. Let me know where you are growing in being more action oriented, or give us some tips. If you are also very action oriented, then let us know what works for you, and bless someone else who is working on it, if you will. Okay. And I'm so excited to see you guys here again next Wednesday. If you are not on our CEO list, go on over to the website, kingdomboss.com, and do so. And of course, join us in the group, the Kingdom Boss group, afterwards for the after party where the conversation continues. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. All right. Bye-bye.